When Don Johnson walked onto the stage of Jimmy Kimmel's show that night, the audience clapped with enthusiasm. The Hollywood veteran, known for his cool charisma and legendary run on Miami Vice, flashed a familiar grin. But behind his smile was something sharper, an energy slightly off-kilter. From the very first moment, something felt unusual. Jimmy's typical warm-up jokes about Don's age and career didn't land the way they normally would. Don chuckled politely, but the way his fingers tapped the armrest hinted at restrained tension. Jimmy, sensing the vibe, pushed further with an offhand joke about aging action stars clinging to fame. The crowd laughed, but Don's jaw visibly tensed. "You know, Jimmy," he said with a calm voice and steel underneath, "some of us keep working because we still have something to say, not because we're afraid to disappear." The mood in the room changed instantly. Jimmy laughed awkwardly, trying to pivot, but Don didn't let up. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. "You talk like we're all clowns juggling for relevance. You ever stop to ask what keeps us going?" Jimmy raised an eyebrow, sarcastically quipping, "Well, I assume the money helps." Don didn't laugh. "And you? You mock people for a living. What keeps you going?" That landed hard. The audience froze, unsure if they were still watching a comedy show or the beginning of something real. Jimmy, visibly caught off guard, tried to steer back to the interview. "Let's talk about your new movie," he said. Don smirked. "Let's talk about why I almost canceled coming here." The crowd shifted in their seats. "Because every time I come on this show," Don continued, "it's the same circus. Same jokes, same shallow questions, and frankly, I'm tired of playing along." Producers backstage were in a frenzy, mouths tight behind headsets. Jimmy, now clearly agitated, sat up straighter and asked, "Are you accusing me of disrespecting you?" Don shrugged. "Not just me, all of us. The ones who made something before the internet made everyone famous." There was no yelling, just heat beneath every word. "You're not here to have conversations, Jimmy. You're here to control the story, control the laughs, control the image." A few claps rang out from the audience before dying quickly, unsure if support was appropriate or if they were witnessing a breakdown. Jimmy, tightening his grip on his cue cards, attempted a joke to ease the moment. "Well, maybe we should get you a therapist instead of a microphone." Don chuckled grimly. "Funny, that's the same thing your network said when I pitched a show with substance." Now even the laughter felt uncomfortable. Don continued, voice steady but every word carrying weight. "I came up in a time when shows didn't treat artists like punchlines. You're a smart guy, Jimmy. Why'd you trade curiosity for cruelty?" Jimmy rolled his eyes, clearly losing patience. "Look, man, if you've got a bone to pick with showbiz, maybe pick it somewhere else." Don stared him down. "You invited me?" Jimmy threw his hands up. "I invited you to talk about your film, not roast me on my own show." Don leaned back, folding his arms. "You roast people for a living, don't you?" The silence in the studio was electric, sharp. The tension had evolved into something heavier. The producers made a call. Stage managers started moving just off camera. The usual rhythm of late-night TV had been shattered by an unfiltered human moment that no one had planned for or could control. Then Jimmy lost it. "All right, Don, you want real talk? Here's real talk. You're not the same guy you used to be. And maybe people don't laugh because you're right. Maybe they laugh, because you're angry and don't know where to put it." That struck a nerve. Don rose slowly from his chair. "I know exactly where to put it," he said, "right here, in front of the audience you trained to laugh at sincerity." The crowd was stunned. Someone clapped. Another person gasped. Jimmy stood too, motioning to someone off stage. "We're done," he said flatly. Don, still composed, walked toward the edge of the set, pausing briefly to turn and say, "You invited a real one, Jimmy. Don't act shocked when I showed up." He exited without fanfare, his footsteps the only sound. The music never played. The cameras never cut, it was just quiet. Within minutes, the internet lit up. Raw clips were shared across platforms, some titled "Don Johnson Destroys Kimmel," while others claimed it was "the meltdown of the decade." But most viewers didn't see a meltdown. They saw a man fed up with being laughed at instead of heard. Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube overflowed with debates. Was Don out of line, or was he finally saying what many felt? Celebrities chimed in, some cautiously, others in full support. A few even retweeted the video with captions like, "Truth bombs on live TV." Don's publicist released no statement. Jimmy's team gave a vague explanation, citing creative differences and a misunderstood segment. But the damage, or awakening, was done. What should have been a forgettable promo turned into a cultural flashpoint overnight. Fans rallied, critics took sides, and the echo chamber was impossible to ignore. In the days that followed, opinion pieces sprang up like weeds. Some called Don bitter, washed up, a relic of a bygone era lashing out at irrelevance. Others called him brave, overdue, and necessary. Talk shows, podcasts, and news panels all weighed in. Even rival late-night hosts made sly references to the incident. One said, "At least Don didn't throw a chair like on my show." Behind the scenes, Kimmel's staff met to address the fallout. Internally, there was talk of revising guest prep, updating tone guidelines, and reconsidering how they handle older celebrities, especially those not there to be mocked. Meanwhile, Don stayed out of the spotlight. No interviews, no follow-ups, just silence. For him, the moment wasn't a PR stunt. It was a long-brewing truth spoken aloud. Finally, a release. And when he finally re-emerged weeks later, it wasn't to explain, but to simply move on. Don gave his first post-incident comment during a quiet radio interview in Tennessee. No cameras, no filters, just him and a mic. "I wasn't trying to blow up anything," he said. "But I wasn't going to sit there and smile while being belittled for a laugh track." He talked about dignity, aging in Hollywood, and how media culture confuses snark for substance. You can joke with someone or joke at them. There's a difference. It's all fun and games until you're the punchline for existing past your prime. The host asked if he regretted it. Don replied, "Not a second, I slept great that night." The clip went viral within hours, but Don didn't engage. He didn't tweet it. He didn't quote it. He just let it live in the world. And, doing so, his quiet confidence spoke louder than any clapback. Back on Kimmel's show, things were different. The jokes were safer, the questions more scripted, the vibe more sanitized. Jimmy opened one episode with, "Let's keep it light tonight. No therapy sessions." Some laughed. Others didn't. Behind the scenes, his staff were said to be more cautious with bookings, especially older actors. Meanwhile, other shows embraced the wave Don started. They invited guests to be more real, more vulnerable. Ratings dipped in some places but spiked in others. Audiences seemed to crave something, more than snappy one-liners and fake laughs. They wanted truth. And in an age of filters and fast takes, Don's moment of unfiltered honesty had become a sort of accidental manifesto. Proof that even in glitzy spaces, truth has a place, even when it's uncomfortable. Maybe especially when it is. Months later, the clip of Don's confrontation still made the rounds online. It was dissected in media courses, memed by Gen Z creators, and admired by fans who grew up watching him with slick hair and rolled-up sleeves. But now, they saw him not as an 80s icon, but as a man refusing to shrink for a smile. He didn't release a memoir, didn't book a tell-all interview, didn't drop a documentary. He just went on, working, showing up, speaking when needed, and staying silent when it mattered. The incident faded from headlines, but not from memory. Because every time someone watched it, they felt it. That charged, electric, honest tension that couldn't be faked or staged. Just one man saying, "Enough." And in doing so, he didn't burn bridges. He lit a path, one that maybe, just maybe, others would be brave enough to walk.